Hello, everybody. Chris Hislop here from the Montana World Affairs Council. This is What, So What, Now What, the World Affairs program, where we connect you with an expert on the issue of the day. And in 5 hot minutes, you become the expert. Today, I've got a special treat, a very good friend and a world-renowned expert, Harald Friedl, who has practiced circular economy, sustainability, and business for over 10 years. And is now an active innovator who drives growth and circularity in his clients' companies. Not simply a theory guy, Harald teaches what he knows about experience from his experience and is passionate about sharing his expertise with today's most dynamic business leaders. We are so lucky to have you on today, Harald. How are you?
Thanks, man. It's good to see you again. I'm very good. Thank you.
It's great to see you too. As I said, Harald is a old friend and colleague, and I'm so pleased that you were able to come on. Now, Harald, you've recently been to COP26. We've heard a lot of news coming out of this global meeting, a lot of expectations, hopes, and dreams hanging on that group of people who decided a lot of things. Your part of that, of course, is focusing on circular economy and circularity. Could you tell our viewers a little bit about what that means?
Yeah, COP26, Chris, was an interesting meeting. The world meeting about climate. It happens once a year. And so it's a big opportunity. Everybody is looking at it. And I think it's a mixed bag we were left with. Many people were waiting for a big signal, also from the political leaders, to say, how do the next years look like? And let's leave aside, there was a lot of positive news. Many companies, many civil society organizations, many leaders stood up and said, we have to change the tide and really go to a net zero planet and economy. And that means a lot in your business practices. That needs a lot in your management practices and how you collaborate with people. However, out there, when you went to the protests, civil society, the young people rising up, they said one thing: we don't believe you. So whatever was happening inside was facing this negative energy, let's put it that way, or that pent up anger that said, we don't believe you anymore, despite the fact you're trying to do your best. While inside, in the negotiation, we saw people, and including the presidency, the UK presidency that was in charge this time of coordinating these negotiations, they tried their best. And I think some of us remember at the last day at the press conference, the president, UK Minister Alok Sharma, he broke in tears in the press conference itself. So what does it tell us? In short, I think they tried their best, with big countries at the end not going for the full coal phase out. That was the last topic on the table, coal as a symbolic issue that we have to leave in the past. And I think they wanted to go further, but it was not possible because we have more than 190 countries in the United Nations negotiating. Outside, the young voices want to see more. Now we have another year of going forward and make sure enough is happening, because the world is not waiting. We're living in a social, economic, and environmental crisis.
So, Harald, taking from that last point, what does this really mean for us here in Montana, in the United States, and around the world, both in terms of the outcomes of COP26, but also in your work on circularity?
Yeah, thank you very much. I mean, the circular economy is a fundamental way of set up the economy. The economy comes from the Greek word economos, which means the household. So how are we treating our household, including us? We as human beings are part of this household. At the moment, when you look at the numbers, only 9% of the resources we use are staying in the cycle of the economy. The rest is wasted. So we have a wasteful economy, which has brought us to the place where we are right now, in quite rich Western countries, with the developing world catching up, but we have created for ourselves many problems because we didn't care so much about the sustainability of things for a long-term vision, and often profit has put above sustainability. Now, the circular economy gives an answer to this. And if you Google, you will find tremendous amounts of information online. In short, a circular economy is an economy that avoids waste on the one hand, and keeps things, material, at its highest use for the highest and the longest time possible. That means we have to shift away fundamentally from a wasteful society, from a wasteful economy, and turn the ship around. Is it possible? It is. That's also what the scientists say, but it needs very deep-rooted changes of all the systems we have, of the steel sector, of the shipping sector, of the aviation industry. All this we can together shift around. And maybe if you want to also think about Montana, we can take the last question on that.
Yeah, I mean, why not, Harold? Let's touch on Montana. You know that we have an agricultural-based economy, also mineral and timber resources here. You know, what does this mean for a place like Montana, and what might Montana be looking like in the near future? What might we expect?
You know, it's interesting because the agricultural field is an interesting one. Also, mineral resources. We are taking things off the ground or from the ground to grow food that is often wasted, as we know, because we live in this wasteful society. And for example, minerals are used for something and nobody thinks about it, what's happening at the end of its life cycle. So when we start to recycle things, refurbish things, repair things, we have and take this long-term view also in the design of our products that make a different and a main shift. So in Montana, and I work on this in a couple of countries in Europe, it would mean let's look at the agriculture sector. Let's look at it together with all the stakeholders, the people on the field, the people providing the fertilizer, the retailers, and together identify the problems, which for example is, I guess, soil erosion, or like here in Holland where I live at the moment, we're polluting the soil with more and more fertilizers. But in the end of the day, are these the products that we want to see on the shelves, where we find microplastics, where we find things that we actually don't want to have in our food? So together, have all stakeholders in any industry come together and say, how can we really rethink them fundamentally? When you look online, there are many studies already about circularity, for example, in agriculture. Now it is up to the policymakers to say, we are creating the policy frameworks, the rules and regulations to make that possible. It needs the businesses with their CEOs and employees to say, we want to change fundamentally to provide for the needs of the people, not anymore of the wants, but what we really need. We want to make a healthy profit, that's fine, but we really have to rethink business practices in line with sustainability. And us, as consumers, we have to really start to act with our wallet, not only our wallet in a daily basis, where we invest, what we buy, because we have to make smart choices. Again, enough information is out there by now. And with our votes, we need to put the right people into office that actually are interested in a long-term view or a mid-term view for our society to be able to shift it around. So how this is all connected? I think we live in the most interesting period since decades. We can really avoid climate chaos. How? By working all together, by making good plans, and by taking action.
Harold, thanks a lot for ending on that optimistic note. We've talked to a number of people on the outcomes of COP26 and on climate change. And one thing that I take away is that there is optimism, that there are ways that we can deal with this. Oftentimes it seems too big to deal with, but you and others are telling us there are ways we can do it, our own individual, in our communities, in our states like Montana. So I really appreciate that message, Harold. Thank you so much for that. And let me quickly thank our generous sponsors, the Dennis and Phyllis Washington Foundation, Allegiance, and Stockman Bank. They help us bring this and other programs to you day in and day out. So Harold, thanks again for joining us. Thanks to all who are watching this. Much appreciated. We'll see you in our next show. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.